Come on, come on. Get all the way over. Good afternoon, everyone. To begin, I'm thrilled to welcome United States Department of Agriculture Deputy Secretary Xochitl Torres Small to the United Nations. Welcome. Now in my tenure as the U.S. Ambassador to the UN, I've had the honor of serving as the President of the Security Council 3 times. And every time I focused attention on the same core issue, food insecurity. Because ultimately, food security is national security. Food security is economic security. And above all, food security is a moral imperative. As President Biden has said, if parents cannot feed their children, nothing else matters. Today, a perfect storm of climate and conflict have driven tens of millions more people into hunger. But in the fight against food security, we have a powerful tool, and that is women farmers. Of all the women in the world, in the global labor force, 2/5 work in agri-food systems. In many regions, that number is even higher, with more than 2 in 3 women in the labor force working in agri-food systems in sub-Saharan Africa and in South Asia. And they farm with less financial backing, less technology, less education, less cultural and governmental support than their male counterparts. This lack of training and resources and support doesn't just hamper women farmers' productivity, it holds back progress in every sustainable development goal, from combating climate change to ensuring economic stability to fighting food insecurity, which disproportionately affect women and girls. By establishing 2026 as the International Year of the Women Farmer, the international community has chosen to call attention to the challenges women in agriculture continue to face, and the ways in which government, civil society, the private sector, and other stakeholders can help close the gender gap and get us closer to achieving the SDGs. The United States is proud that over 100 countries have joined us in co-sponsoring this resolution, which will be voted on, hopefully, momentarily. With it, we aim to increase awareness of women's roles in farming and lack of secure land tenure that continues to hinder far too many of them. To better understand the financial and technological needs of women farmers and ensure access to credit and markets, education, and technology. To support changes in policies and social norms that empower women farmers and share best practices. So if parents cannot feed their children, nothing else matters. With this resolution, we will empower women farmers, and we empower every parent and every child whose next meal depends on them. Thank you very much, and thank you so much for joining me today as well.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. As you know, it's Nadia Satima from Al Jazeera English. I wanted to ask about the International Year of the Woman Farmer. How will member states, particularly the US, be able to leverage this to increase the amount of young people that are drawn into agriculture, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, where a lot of the youngest and brightest are drawn to more profitable industries like extractive mining and things like that? How do you use this year to grow how many women farmers we have, particularly as climate change erodes the agricultural system, and as many people say that women bear the brunt of conflict-induced food insecurity?
Well, I'm going to turn to the Deputy Secretary on that, but as we have seen over and over again, once young people leave rural areas, once they leave the farms, they don't want to go back. So it is really important that we make farming into a livelihood, that will attract these young people back to the farms. But you probably have a much more technical response to that.
Thank you. In speaking with countries who are early co-sponsors of this resolution, one of the resounding themes was how do we make agriculture more resilient? And a crucial part of that is making sure that the youth, the next generation of farmers, see a bright future ahead of them. I was in Mozambique recently, and when you look at different types of agriculture, different definitions of what farming is, one surprising example might be stewardship of mangroves and how you are contributing to climate resiliency while also instilling traditional values and practices as part of that education. And the most active participants in that work were from the local university, the young people who felt power and ownership by defending their home. There are so many ways that you can do that in farming that can inspire young people to be part of that future. And we're eager to find those ways, those best practices to support it through this year.
Just a quick question on two crises of the day. Just on Gaza, the UN seems very concerned that a ground assault by Israel on Rafah is imminent. What is the latest that you know about that? Has Israel communicated any kind of timeline to the US? And on Sudan, what's happening in El Fasher? It's very difficult to get information. What's your latest intel?
Look, on the situation in Gaza and the possibilities of an attack on Rafah, I don't have any new information on that, other than to say our position remains the same, that we do not think there should be any kind of event or attack in Rafah, given the huge population of civilians there, over 1.5 million people, and we've not seen, nor do we think it's possible to provide for their protection. On the situation in Sudan, we're still very concerned. We know that the fighting is starting, and we know that thousands of people will be victims should these forces move into El Fasher. We have expressed our concerns through the Security Council in a statement that you saw that was issued late last week, and we're looking at what other actions we can take at the Council.
Could I ask a question about this resolution?
Sure.
Yes.
I think you have to go make a statement, ma'am, but it's quick, Edie.
Very quickly, what are you going to do in 2026 to try and close the wage gap between male farmers and women farmers?
One of the things this resolution focuses specifically on are different ways to support women farmers, whether that's land ownership, whether that's tech transfer and how we can use agro-tech to support women farmers, or whether that's support through technical assistance, right? How can we enable mentorship that creates more opportunities? Another piece that came up a lot in discussions today, learning best practices from countries are already doing, is how do we support women farmers who are also part of the agri-food business, who are contributing through value added, so that it's creating more income directly to community because they get a fairer share of the food dollar. As we work to recognize and see the unseen women all across the country involved in farming, that brings a spotlight. But so much more than that is the crucial aspect of policy and investment in terms of how are we supporting women who are being able to enter new markets and new food supply chains. So this is an opportunity, I think, to invest in that added value opportunity and other ways to expand their share of the food dollar.
I'm sorry, the Deputy Secretary has a